On behalf of the All India Tennis Association, I welcome all of you to this webinar organized in collaboration with the Sports Authority of India by the Sports Education, the Coaches Education Department of the All India Tennis Association. It has been a great 3 days, and yes, so we have some exciting things lined up for you today. My friend Gary O'Brien will be coming on to talk to you about strategy and tactics later today. But before we go there, we're going to have the celebrity of the day. So are we going to guess, or you all know already? And I think I know how you're guessing. Even without me giving you a clue, you seem to know how to guess. I think I know how you're guessing. So you're going looking in the list of attendees, and you know when there is a no, it's not Sanya. Yes, it's Prajnesh. See, I didn't even give them a clue, and they know it is Prajnesh. Now I know how you find out. So I'm not going to be keeping this a secret anymore. So I'm going to just announce it's we have Prajnesh Gunneswaran, the Davis Cup player for India, and he's here with us. He's already joined in, and welcome, Prajnesh.
Hi, sir. How are you? Thanks for inviting me. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is staying safe during this coronavirus. And I hope we all have a good day. And Suresh, please lead us forward.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm clear at 15 minutes.
Sure.
So the last 4 days,
okay.
We have Rohan, we had Ankita, and then we had Nandan, and then all of them. It was so good to listen to them talk. You know, the clarity of thought and how it comes out in their communication. And Prajnesh, I known him for a very long time, and he's another guy who can speak so well. His communication is phenomenal. He can just speak his heart out, and he speaks, and he's a straight shooter. Whatever's there, he speaks out. So it's going to be another interesting session. Prajnesh,
yes.
What have you been doing this lockdown?
Finding ways to waste a lot of time, to be honest. I think all of us, I think not a lot of people have been used to having this much idle time, sitting at home, not being able to really move out. I think, it's easy to say that we should use this time very effectively and use all the time that we have to learn new skills that we could have never learned before. But I'm one of those people who has not happened to, learn that many new skills, like picking up a new language, for example. But it is also a time, where you get to spend more time with your family. A lot of people are always running around, and all of a sudden it's like hitting the pause button. You sit at home, you have to spend a lot more time with yourself and with the people around you. I think that's good. And from a tennis standpoint, as an athlete, it's obviously quite bad, not being able to train, not being able to play tennis, not being able to compete. These are all things that will hurt an athlete. It's a little bit like being injured, I guess, except more frustrating because you're not injured. So you know that you can do train and move forward. But unfortunately, the world is at a place today where we all have to stay safe and healthy rather than try to succeed in our chosen paths.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a little tricky.
Okay. Yeah, talking about adding new skills, it just comes to my mind that when you are practicing at the courts, you have to sharpen up your skills. That's one part. You have to stay sharp. And I also know that you keep looking to add new dimensions to your game, like
Right.
the approaching, coming to the net, and So you, how do you balance this out?
How do I balance trying to find new skills versus
you're always looking to improve your game, and then you're trying to add new dimensions to your game. At the same time, you also need to stay sharp for the tournaments. So and
Correct.
with the circuit, you have tournaments back to back, and you have hardly any time in between. So how do you find time to to get into new skills?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a little. That's an interesting question because I think it comes down to deciding whether you want to add certain skill sets, but you have the risk of losing a certain number of matches or going backwards for some time because you don't develop new skills overnight. So I guess every player has to make a decision whether he feels that aspect he's trying to improve is that crucial that it will help make him make that next jump, him or her, make the jump to the next level, or to make enough of an improvement that it's okay to lose some matches. So it's a little bit like a short term versus long term approach. And some things, I guess, also when it comes to learning new skills or adapting, it can it can work uh, where you don't necessarily lose time, where you're only adding a few things, or adding, for example, the slice, but not every point or every alternate point, but you add maybe one per game, and over a period of time you start to sort of use the slice more. So it's not necessary that it has to really hurt you when you try to add it. So I guess it's a little bit about how fast you want to improve it as well. So if you're willing to sort of do it sparingly, and then as you develop confidence, as you win some matches using that shot, then you start to employ it more, rather than saying I'm going to jump into the deep end on day one, and then you have to take a lot of losses, and that beats your confidence, like you said. And
Okay.
then maybe you start questioning whether you even did the right thing to start with. So
Yeah.
I think it's important to find the right balance.
Okay. That brings a very interesting question. I might be wrong here. This is just an assessment as I have seen from outside. You develop
Mhm.
into a player that you are today. Uh, when you guys came to our courts, to all you guys, like you, the top guys in Tamil Nadu, Jeevan, you, Balaji, and you were hitting, Vijay Sundar Prashad.
Mhm.
I could see that you had a big game.
Mhm.
You were nailing those forehands. This was, I'm talking about, like several years ago, 7 years or more. And but then I also know I've seen a couple of matches that you played. You were pretty conservative. You were trying to be
Correct.
safe, and yeah. And then at one point, I think you decided to take more risk, be more aggressive, and you kept losing matches. Precisely what you said some time before.
Mhm.
So what made you believe that this is the one, even though you were losing for a while, that this is the one to take you forward?
I think that particular example, it usually happens to a lot of players where they're more aggressive in practice and they end up being defensive in the matches, or defensive when it counts. And for me, uh, at the end of it, no matter what skills we develop or what we do in practice, at the end of the day, when we go on court to play a match, what we really want to do is win. So that was overriding every other factor in my head and in my instincts. So I always played the point to somehow find a way to win it, and that worked up to a point. And then eventually, I was starting to hit a ceiling where I couldn't win matches, or I was running out of gas every time because of what I was doing. That is, I was having this, let me win this point and the next point, and then I'll see what to do later. And I wasn't able to succeed any further. So then I realized, okay, I have to start to
Do you
what
remember?
to do.
Do you
And it
remember?
was a little
Sorry,
interesting for
do
me
you remember at
because
what age this was that you hit the ceiling and then you
this was, I
decided?
think, I think when I made the transition between futures to challengers, that's where I
Uh,
started to have this problem, because I was able to get through the futures players at the time by making a lot of balls and playing high balls to the backhand, for example, staying tough in the big moments. But then once I got to the next level, that was not enough. I was not getting enough of those situations where I had the break points, or where I was able to just tough out the other guy. They would just beat me with skill, for example. Then I realized, okay, I have to start using what weapons I have, which I believed was being able to play fast, for example. And so then initially, when I started to do that, I obviously lost a lot of matches, like you said. But the one thing that kept me made me believe in that aspect was the fact that I had done it well in practice. I kept telling myself, you already have it. It's not a skill set that you're trying to develop overnight.
yeah,
You've been doing this for many years. You just never used it in the match.
yeah.
So believe that you do it in the match enough times, it will start to fall into place. And then I'm glad that it did.
Okay. Then, but it's not that easy to say. To say it is one thing. To actually believe and then go after it and continue doing that, especially after you had some success. You're a pretty good player in the country, and then your also ranking is not bad. The thing is, you need to make the next jump. But
Right.
how did you make yourself believe over that period of time? Did somebody help you, or is it something that you kept telling yourself?
I mean, I always had people who I used to go to for advice, coaches, Balu sir, for example, coach is in Germany, and my dad was also somebody who I always went to when it came to this. And I used to ask them, and everybody had a little bit of a different opinion, but at the end of it, it was pretty simple. Everyone said if you feel that this is the right move to go up, then you can do it, even if you're going to go down for some time. And like you said, it's easier said than done, because at the end of it, when you're in the middle of all that and you're losing all the time, you can't see clearly. So sometimes I used to write things down and say, okay, I'm going to write it down now, and then say for this many months I'm not going to question
Oh,
this
that's
path.
okay.
I'm going to stick to it, and then when I finish this many months of sticking with it, then I'll come back and reevaluate. Because otherwise, every week you start to flip back and forth, then you are neither here nor there.
Right. So it was like a long-term commitment, looking at
Yeah,
the long-term, prospects and the improvement rather than looking at the short-term benefits
yeah,
and
yeah.
the losses. Perfect. So you mentioned about playing to the opponent's high, the high backhand, which is normally
Yeah.
weak for a lot of players. Yes.
Uh-huh.
But as you go higher up, yeah, as you futures level, yes. But then when you go higher up, it is not that obvious, the
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses.
Yes.
Do you still look for weaknesses in the opponent when you play the challenger level, or you're going there to just enforce your game?
No, I think it's a combination of both of those factors. And once again, that depends on the player. Um, and the less explosive or the less you can impose the game on the opponent, the more tactical you need to be. So if you're not going to be able to serve 220 kilometers an hour every time, then you have to know which side the returner likes more. Which side is he
Right.
more solid under pressure? Which side can he hit a bigger shot? So all of those factors become much more important. If you can't say, I'm just going to hit the first serve, and then the next ball that comes, I'm going to blast it, and he can't do anything, then it really doesn't. It matters less what the opponent does. But for most players, I think being aware of what the strengths and weaknesses of the opponent is very important at every level. And like you said, obviously the margins are less as you go up, but there is always room. There's always a gap, and you just the closer you get to that level, the more you see it. Initially, maybe from outside, you feel, oh, he can hit forehands, backhands, everything looks clean. Then then you have to see, can he do it for 2 hours,
Yeah.
or you see, can he do it at 4 all 30 all? Is he brave enough to play the same shot then?
Mhm.
So, or is he reckless? Does he have bad shot selection? So there's always a reason why a player is ranked at a particular level consistently, unless he's going up. And usually, you will see the reasons why when when you compete and when you look for those things.
Okay. So talking about tactics in matches, and I know your performance depends on a particular day on how well you're
Mm-hmm.
able to execute your strokes and how well you're able to repeat that over and over again throughout the match, like serving or forehand. But also
Right.
depends on your tactics, like you said. Yeah, it
Right.
depends on what if you're using the right tactics or not. So can you give us some insight about how you prepare for particular opponents in terms of tactics?
Yeah, I try to watch as many videos as possible on my opponents, and then I
Okay.
ask the players. I obviously look up the matches they played and see if they played somebody I know. Then I talk to those friends of mine and say, okay, what do these guys do well? What do they not do well? Some of it will obviously repeat, but then you may find one or two things from some players where you say, oh, okay, you picked up something that maybe nobody else saw. Yes, and I've noticed that this especially happens with the guys like I mentioned. The bigger the game, the less info you get, and the less, let's say, less power that's involved in someone's tennis, the more tactical they are. So when I see, for example, that Jeevan has played an opponent, or for example Somdev, these guys who always are able to use their tactics to their advantage, then I get a lot more information. Uh,
Okay.
and and that's normal. It's just like everything. When your forehand is very strong, maybe your backhand is not as good. But if your forehand is average, automatically you're forced to have a better backhand because you don't have a choice. And in that sense, the players who cannot hit the ball, who cannot sort of hit the skin off the ball, are always going to be smart on the court. And so yeah, I try to analyze the players by asking players and watching videos, and then trying to watch matches. If they're in the same tournament, usually I'll know. if I beat the guy in the first round, I'm going to play one or two opponents in the second round. So if I have the chance to watch the match, then I go and sit watch that match just before mine. Or if my coach is there, then I say, okay, can you watch that match and let me know what do you think, what do you see? And obviously, all of that is, they may play different on that day and different against me, but some of the basic stuff will be the same. And then the rest of it, I try to figure out as fast as possible, as early as possible in the match when I start.
Okay, that's very good. Now, the thing is that brings to the light that when you talk to the other players, like say Jeevan or Somdev or Vijay or Balaji, anyone, all of them are forthcoming in giving you the information that you will need for the match, which is a phenomenal thing. As in, all of you guys never look at each other as competition. You're looking at the entire, the whole thing out there as competition. Same thing with you when you come and play with, say, Manish or Prithvi, for example. You're so willing to come and help them out in what they are doing. And coming from you, it definitely carries that weight. So it is something that, the general feeling for people is when you guys, like SD was talking about it, when you reach a certain height, you don't want the others to come up.
Right.
This used to be, a talk with people, but then I want to prove that it's not true. All you guys are so willing to help the others to come up.
Yeah,
okay.
That.
So
yeah. Please go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's yours.
Yeah, I believe that the more I help the players around me, first thing is I also learn, because the more it's like how they say the best way to learn is to be a teacher. So when you start trying to explain something to someone, if you don't know it through and through, you will have doubts and you won't be able to explain it properly. That's one part. And another thing is I want to be able to the players who are coming up, because I feel some of the things I learned the hard way, and I maybe didn't have someone to tell me and sort of help me do it in 1 day or 2 days. I had to learn over a period of a year or 6 months, or lose 10 matches to learn that thing. And I would like to help the players who are working hard around me, who I feel, they are trying to succeed. And if I'm in a position to help them get that skill set faster or learn something earlier because of me, I'm very happy to do it. And if they come to a position where they're starting to beat me, then at that point, I will say, okay, then this guy is tough and he's finding a way to overcome whatever I have, and I'll compete with them and find a way to go up. Because I will find a way to be the fighter in that moment and not say, oh my God, I should not help him. I should just keep him below by, telling him the wrong things. I would rather than it be healthy competition and we both succeed.
Yeah. The goal is you need to grow. It is not to keep somebody else down that, you feel that you're superior.
Correct.
It's so true. Yeah. You want to say something?
No, I agree with you.
Okay. You were talking about your friends helping out with these tactics, right? So can you give us some examples, some, actual facts about what they tell you about certain opponents, their styles, and what will work based on what your strengths are and things like that?
Yeah. The first example I can think of when it comes to this is Jeevan, because he's quite good tactically.
He's a must, right?
Yeah. So whenever I ask him, he, obviously the general stuff, he'll be like, this guy's forehand is better, this guy's backhand is better, whichever one. And he tells me about the serve. But then a couple of the things which are pretty special when it comes to what he notices is he remembers what the guy likes to serve at 30 all, or what he likes to serve on break point. And those are huge, because then, in that moment you're saying, okay, 70-30, there's a chance he's going to serve in this direction at 30-40. And you only need one break per set to, convert, especially for someone like me who in general tries to serve as well as possible and hold on to every service game. If I get to 130-40 and I pick the right side because Jeevan helped me saying, in general, I've seen that this is what he likes, that's good enough. If I react a split second faster and I make the return, that's a big advantage. So that's something pretty special. I think he's able to see those little things, and or maybe a lot of people see it, but he remembers them. He notes it down, and I don't know if he writes it, but at least he makes a mental note, and he's able to recall that when he needs it. So that's something quite special. I'm sure Somdev is also one of those guys who has that. I just haven't spoken to him as much because the circuit I play, he knows less of the players, or the circuits I played, where Jeevan was more sort of, playing alongside me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, cool. Now, preparing for the match with a certain tactic is one thing.
mhm.
And then you go into the match, and then you have to see if the tactic that you prepared and went in with is working or not. That is
Right.
one thing. The second scenario is where you might have played a player once, and it's, getting information from others is one thing, but you playing and experiencing it is another thing. So you might have lost to a player, and then the next time you played
Mhm.
him, you had more knowledge, and then you went back and beat him because you changed your tactics.
Yeah.
The execution
Right.
levels might have been the same, but you just changed tactics which helped you beat him. At the same time, another scenario is where you're starting to play with a certain tactic, and then you notice that it is not working, and then you're down in the match, and then you change your tactics. You could come back and beat them. You just find a way to win. It could be a pattern of play, it could be a certain tactic, whatever. So, can you recall
Yeah.
3 instances where you can give us the details about what exactly happened, what tactic you changed, things like that?
Okay. Yeah, I think, for example, when I played Balaji, for the longest time, I used to try to attack his backhand with my forehand because my forehand is my strength. And I always went, like I said, cross court, high ball to the backhand, and I tried to hurt the opponent. And this is what I tried to do against Balaji. But the
Oh,
problem is
Lord.
that his backhand is very good.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was, and one of the things he likes to do is he likes to take the ball a little early. So the higher I tried to
Yeah.
hit it, the earlier he came in and took it and pressed the ball down. And I was losing the edge that I had in the rally. And I was obviously very reluctant to say, okay, I'm going to go down the line and then go the other way because I wasn't as confident in my backhand. Then I had to try it because I was losing points, and I said, let me try going the other way, see what happens. And in the middle of the match, when I made that tactical change, and I realized even though I was uncomfortable, I was winning more points on this side than I was winning on the forehand. So then I said, okay, for whatever reason, I'm winning the points here more than I am on my strength. So I'm just going to stick to it and find a way through that match. And then when I did that, I won the match first of all by using a tactic I'm not used to. So that helped me because then I realized that I can rely on that more the next time around. It gives me confidence on something which I'm usually not relying on, and it showed me that I can make a tactical adjustment in the during the match, which usually you like you said you come up with a plan and you try to stick to it. But there I realized I had to think on my feet, and this is one of those examples when I played Balaji. That was one of them where I switched from trying to attack his backhand to attacking his forehand. Then one of the things which for me worked very well was uh, I always used to serve. I used to try to serve sort of big and go for aces and try to sort of win the point outright with the serve on with speed. And then I ended up facing these Japanese players, and one of them was Moriya, Hiroki Moriya, and he's someone who's very good at try to hit a big first serve. The ball came back with interest, and I was initially when it was happening, I said, okay, then I have to serve bigger. I have to even go for more and then find a way through him. And then after a set, I figured it out earlier, but I guess I was sort of being stubborn and trying to still do more in the same department and trying to find a way through him. And eventually, I realized it's not possible. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna have to mix with more slice serves, take out the speed, and don't give him the center of the racket every time. Let him move a little bit before he has to hit the same return, even if it's not going to be an ace. At least he doesn't smack it. And then I started mixing that with body serves and with kick serves. And once I did that, then the rhythm changed for him. He was not able to time the ball as well. And then when I used the big first serves, it helped because then it was, change in pace, change in rhythm. And all of a sudden he was uncomfortable. And that feeling of being uncomfortable doesn't just end with one shot. It doesn't end with just the return. It creeps into the rest of your game. So, for example, it started creeping into his next shot after the return or his service games. And then that amount of doubt was enough for me to find a way
Yeah.
back into the match. And that showed me on that day that, sometimes just because you have a strength doesn't mean by blindly going to that you're going to win the match. So that is another example and something that I'm not very used to doing, and it made me happy in that moment to know that I could find a way to win without using power. And the more instances that happened like this, the more I started to realize that I don't have to be a player who relies just on one or two things, and that I could
Yeah.
do, first of all, that I had more things in my game, and second of all, that if I didn't, I could learn it.
Yeah. So that's when you started to mature, like as the player that you are today. Yeah.
Correct.
So, one of the things I wanted to ask you is that your best performance, or you won your first Futures title when you were 24?
Yeah,
23,
yes,
24, something
possible.
like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And till then, your performance was not up to that thing. Like,
Correct.
isn't that true?
Yeah. I think I was always able to play. I mean, I believe that did well, but I was never able to make those breakthroughs. I had a lot of injuries. For example, I was
Yeah.
not able to consistently compete in the circuit, and then when I did, it was only for a few months, and few months I was not good enough to win matches at the futures level. So I was always trying to knock on that door, but I had obstacles in my path, and eventually, when I was able to sort of play for long enough, then I made that breakthrough in the future circuit and won my first title. I won that I think my first one was in Chennai, where in the Nungambakam Stadium. So yeah, my home ground.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about that, a lot of your performances has come in the Indian soil, in tournaments, in futures, and challenges as well. I think out of the 2 challenges you won and the 2 you reached finals, 1 victory and 1 finals was in India. The same thing, I think, in futures also. I think you won more than 50% of your titles or finals in India. Now, yeah, the reason why I'm bringing that up is to highlight the importance of what, first I want you to tell me what is the advantage you feel when you play the competition in India?
Okay. So I think there's 2 sides to that. One is obviously the more tournaments there are in India, the better it is. That is very simple. There's no argument about that. More tournaments at every level. It's not about whether it's a futures or a challenger or a non-ranking tournament. Every single tournament that is there, or more tournaments that can be hosted, is better for the tennis players in India because they learn to compete against each other. They test their skills, whatever they've been developing, and learn to compete better, become better overall tennis players. And second thing is, it is financially less of a burden to be able to play in your home country. It's closer to home. And the financial constraints in tennis are huge. It's an expensive sport to start with, and if you're going to have to travel 30-35 weeks to play tournaments outside India, it's very difficult. So if we can manage to organize those tournaments at home, there's nothing like it. Countries like China, bad country to use in this moment as an example for anything because of the virus and everybody. I know that people are upset with where they feel it originated. But the fact is, in this department, they've done the right thing. They've had a lot of tournaments, and players, including me, have benefited by being able to play in China or Japan, for example. They have a lot of tournaments also. So when we have tournaments closer to home, at least for me, Asia is closer than going to North America, for example, for tournaments. I get to come back home. I get to train here. I can sort of live a little bit more of a normal life. And being a tennis player is hard. You have to play for many months and many years on the road, and you can't underestimate getting burnt out early if you have to suffer a lot along the way. And I think having tournaments in India helps a lot. First of all, you also show your peers in India that for example, if one player is far better than the others, that gets winning those matches, and then everybody else feels I have to catch this guy somehow. I have to catch that player. What are they doing better than me? And then they try to find a way. And like I said, that healthy competition grows, lets everybody raise their level. And I remember hearing this on TV or watching an interview where even Federer said when Hewitt won his first Grand Slam or became world number 1, he said, even I believed then I could do it if Hewitt is doing it. So if somebody like Federer, who is a legend in the game and considered an all-time great or the greatest, had to wait for Hewitt to succeed and succeed to the extent that he believed was great before he believed he could do it, is something that shows you that belief is not something that happens automatically. So when there are people that you see in front of you who are succeeding, who are better than you, then you start to go in that direction. So it's very important. And the more tournaments we have here, the more international players are going to come. Better players are going to come to India because there are regularly more tournaments. and then automatically the level will go up.
Totally, yeah. So that's a very important point, Prajnesh. For people keep asking me about helping Indian players and why aren't too many players are coming up as in Europe, or we are little, what do you say, we started off a bit late, about
Mm-hmm.
2-3 decades late, I would say. But to catch up, we definitely need tournaments here. So that's
Correct.
where the effort has to be in. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Talking about your performance only at 24. Uh, till then, you continue to believe that you could make it to the top 100 at that point of time?
Uh, yes, in a way I did. But honestly, when I look back now, I realize that I did not know what it took to be top 100 at that time. I believed I did, luckily. But I was further away than I thought. But the fact that I thought it was close, yes, I did believe. I thought that I had a big game and that if I use my skills well, I would be able to break through. And and I kept persevering. It was not easy, but I'm also going to be honest and say that I had a lot of factors going for me in the sense that financially I was supported by my family and I did not have any. For most people that is not a luxury they can afford. So I was able to play for those many years or sit out not playing and still be able to come back and do this when maybe a lot of people would have had to go do something else in their careers because they would have had to move on with their life. So I was one of the lucky ones who was able to chase my dreams even though I had obstacles in front of me and had many years of waiting.
Yeah. So it's not just the finance part. On the parents' part, they want to know that they're doing the right thing for you, that you're choosing to do the right thing, and it's so important for the parents to feel that whatever you're doing is right. At that point of time, what you're pursuing is right. So, can you tell us a little bit about your parental support in that area?
Yeah, I think my parents and my entire family in general has been very supportive of me when it comes to that. When it came to that, my grandparents put me in sport to start with. I think I'm sure you remember my grandfather who used to bring me to the tennis court all the time, and
Yes.
they always had for whatever reason my
He
family
was very upset with me. He
is
was
it
very upset with me at one point of time because we had players in our courts, and then he
okay?
felt that I was not giving him enough attention. This is
My
in
grandfather
CLR,
has made me switch a lot of coaches in Chennai. I remember
yeah,
going to multiple coaches.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. So he always had this sort of firebrand vision, and he felt that I should become number one in the world and win Wimbledon. That was his dream, and he always used to read that. And when I was young, when he was, when he always sort of spoke about it and told me those things, I automatically believed that I could go up in tennis. And obviously, when I was injured, I was not thinking I'm going to be number one. I believed I could be very successful. I honestly didn't know how far I could go, but one thing I knew was I wanted to find a way to give my chance to succeed and see how far I could get. And I remember setting my goal initially saying I want to be 500, and then I got closer to 500. Then I said, okay, I know I'm going to get to 500 for sure. I want to be 300. Then I was like, I want to make it to the Grand Slam qualifying. And from there on, step by step, I started to have these short-term goals while always having the long-term goal in mind that I want to be someone who's playing consistently at the Grand Slam main draws, being someone who can one day be a Grand Slam potential champion. And for a lot of people that would sound crazy, even if I had a 24 or even today if I say it. But I think that at the end of the day, if you don't aim for the stars, you're not gonna reach as high as you can, irrespective of where that ceiling is.
So I'll take a couple of questions. We still have 5 minutes left, Rajnesh. So can I take a
Sure.
couple of questions from the attendees?
Yes, please.
Till juniors, Prajnesh this is from an anonymous attendee. He doesn't, yesterday also he was anonymous. Till juniors, Prajnesh was like a typical Indian athlete, skinny and weak. But in the men, and now from what we see, he has grown taller, stronger, fitter. What changes did you make and tips to Indian athletes facing such issues?
Well, I think I'm one of those players who just matured slower in terms of my body. Um, I did obviously initially when I was very young, I didn't do all the right things in terms of fitness. But by the time I was 15, I started doing the right things. But it took a while for me to really, fill out, and I was obviously growing taller as well. And between 15 to 20, I was still growing. I was still gaining height, and no matter how much fitness I tried to do or how much weights I just didn't get much bigger. And tennis is an endurance sport, so it's not easy to really put on that much muscle that fast. So it was a little bit of a waiting game, and it's just about saying as long as I'm doing all the right things and checking all those boxes, eventually I will get the required level of fitness. And then it happened over a number of years. So it's consistent hard work which led me to being physically able to compete at a higher level, not just with my tennis.
Okay. Now, Kamesh Srinivasan from the Hindu, he wants to know what you feel that you need to do to break into the top 50. You're probably working on it already. So,
Right. I could lots of things, but to keep it short, I would say first thing I think I have to improve my mental endurance. So this is something that I feel at that level is something that's not very obvious from outside, because you always see how well they hit the ball, you see how well the players move, but one of the most important things is how well they compete and how long they're able to do it for. So at that level, there's no room, and it's a little bit like for somebody like me having to maybe play on sixth gear rather than fifth gear, and there isn't a sixth gear for me, so I'm on overdrive continuously through the match. So learning to have that gear or play at that gear more often, eventually that becomes an average for you. So that is something that I feel is very important for me to do to be able to win and become a top 50 player, alongside developing other skills. Uh, I think for me, I have to maximize my serve more. I think I have room to improve there. For example, how if you look at Ramkumar's stats on his serve versus my stats, is far better. But if you look at power, maybe we're serving similar speeds, very, very small difference. So, in my opinion, I'm like, if Ramkumar is serving with that many, if his stats are that he's getting this many aces in a match and this many free points, why am I not doing it? And if I can close that gap, that just gives me a little bit of more of an advantage against the guys I compete with, because I have my own weapons already, and this will be something that I'll be adding on top. So the first thing I can think of is the serve, and the second thing I can think of is improving my transition game. So I create a lot of mid-court balls, and I don't convert those points as much as I should. I don't know what the percentage is, but I believe that I should be winning a lot more of those points, and then that will automatically put pressure on the opponents to play better shots against me, knowing that if they don't, they're going to lose the majority of the points in the mid-court.
okay. So we have another question: how to read a serve? Do you have some tricks or tweaks to add to that?
I think reading the serve is something that comes with practice. The more you return serves at whichever level you're talking about, the more you do it, the quicker you react. There are some cues like doing the split step on time and watching the ball very carefully. Some players have a tell on the serve where with different toss they have a different spot that they're going to serve. But the higher up you go, the less of a tell there is. So it really comes down to pure reaction and honing those reaction skills, which comes when you keep practicing the return. And maybe, for example, in practice, not saying tell your partner to serve in one spot and you return that. Instead, you say serve wherever you want, and you keep trying to catch the return. Uh, keep guessing and trying to catch the return, and eventually you get better at it.
Okay. So we take one last question and then we'll be running out of time. Dr. J. Manley. Most Indian players succeed only after age 25 or more. Can Prajnesh now, with hindsight, advise younger players how to achieve success quicker?
I think I wouldn't really say that a big part of that is because of the players as such. It's just that it's difficult for us. We have a lot of obstacles in tennis in India. We are not a tennis playing nation like how we are. We're not a tennis superpower. For example, in cricket, I'm sure it would not be like that. The average age of success wouldn't be the same. And I think for it to be this, for it to become earlier in tennis, I think we need to have better systems, more tournaments, more players competing, and the depth will improve, and automatically the players will succeed at a younger age. So I think it's just a matter of doing the right things at the ground level, and then you will see the improvements over a period of time.
Very good, Prajnesh. It was excellent giving us all these insights. As always, like you guys, you players who are making it to the top, you have so much of clarity of thought, and you're able to communicate so clearly and so well. And thank you for sharing all those tactics and things which is going to be the subject of today's presentation. It is kind of a prelude to that presentation.
Okay.
And
anytime.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
and thanks, sir. All right. Take care. Thanks everybody for watching. Bye bye.
You too. And then are you going to go back to sleep now, or you're
I'm awake for now, but maybe I'll take a midday nap.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Okay, bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.
Catch you later. Bye.
See you.
So that was another phenomenal, discourse by Prajnesh, and it has been great talking to these players, and we are getting so much of insight into all the different aspects, and each one is coming up with something. There's fundamental truth that is lying in whatever they speak. And like I said, I'll put it up on the YouTube for you guys to watch it again when you need it. So for today, we have my dear friend, Gary O'Brien, the developmental officer of Bengal Tennis Association. He has been with the coaches education department for the last 20 years, trying to promote tennis in his, part of the country. And what is commendable is he's also moving up to the northeastern areas to promote, the coaches over there, because there has been kind of a neglected area for Indian tennis. And Gary is doing a phenomenal job of that, and I hope you continue to do that, Gary. Welcome to the floor, Gary, and it's you from now.
Thanks, Suresh. I hope all of you can hear me. Suresh, am I on?
Yeah, totally. We can see you and we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. So good morning once again, everybody, and welcome back to this coaches webinar. I am absolutely delighted to be back. आशा है कि आप सब अच्छे हो, आपके और प्रार्थना है कि आपके परिवार, माता पिता, भाइयों बहनों और मित्रों सब सुरक्षित है। देखो, मैं इस सेशन थोड़ा कोशिश करता हूं कि हिंदी में थोड़ा बोलूं। नरसिंह की तरह मेरा हिंदी उतना सॉलिड नहीं है, हाँ ठीक है, सिंपल हिंदी है, भाषा थोड़ा अलग है, फिर भी कोशिश करता हूं। हाँ कोशिश करता हूं। बंगाल टाइगर हूं मैं, बंगाल टाइगर। हाथ में बहुत दम है, बहुत दम। ये हाथ हमको दे दे ठाकुर। चलो, और कई कोच से भी रिक्वेस्ट था कि सर अगर थोड़ा हिंदी में बोलो तो आसान होता है थोड़ा समझने में। तो चलो कोशिश करता हूँ। कितना कोच ये रिक्वेस्ट किया है वो नंबर मुझे पता नहीं है, मगर फिर भी तो थोड़ा इंग्लिश, सॉरी थोड़ा हिंदी, ज्यादा इंग्लिश। अरे ओ सांबा, कितने आदमी थे। चल, ये डायलॉग, आगे वाला डायलॉग कौन सा पिक्चर से? चल मार मार मार, अपना चैट में मार। टैक्टिक्स बैक्टिक्स सब बाद में, जल्दी जल्दी मार, जल्दी जल्दी मार, जल्दी जल्दी मार। ओके चल। So I'm going to try to create a lot of awareness. You are going to be very active today, I hope. I'm not going to climb any ladders today, play any games today. All right? You are going to climb the ladders. You are going to play the games. And hopefully, you will be very active, because if you are not active and you do not participate, then how do you get your trainees to participate? Okay, so let's start. A lot of activity from you. So here we go. Tactics. हम और तुम एक कमरे में बंद हो और चाबी खो जाए. On your screens, a few slides coming up in a minute. Okay, so here we go. I'm sure the first slide is on your screen at the moment. All clear, Suresh? Can you hear me?
Yes, Gary, totally.
Okay, cool. So tactics part 1. The first thing we have to know and we have to figure out is, what is tactics? And here we have two things. We have strategy on one side and we have tactics on another side. Now, guys, coaches, the print may be a little small, thoda chota ho sakta hai. Magar if you enlarge it on your screen, it will be much better. Okay. So what is strategy? Strategy is a pre-match plan. माने match के पहले जो plan बनाता है वो strategy कहते हैं. So Gabbar Singh is playing Vijay tomorrow. आप Gabbar Singh हो, हाँ? आपका trainee Gabbar Singh है. So you have discussed with Gabbar Singh, coach and Gabbar Singh have discussed that Vijay is very slow, right? So you have to make him move. So that is the strategy. Implementation of that plan banaya na ki Vijay is very slow, so you have to make him move. So implementation of that plan now becomes a tactic. What things are you going to use, right, to make Vijay move? What strokes are you going to use? How are you going to use the court is what you have to figure out. Now that becomes a tactic. So strategy, pre-match plan, implementation of that plan becomes a tactic. Clear? All good? Next one. देखो हर चीज में checklist रहता है, okay? Right? I keep a checklist for everything. I learned this checklist business about 20 years ago from my current immediate boss, Mr. S.K. Ghosh, better known as Papuda. He kept using checklists for everything, and we just learned. So I just learned to use checklists for everything. All right, so what is the checklist for tactics? Remember that the role you play as a coach has a direct impact on the trainee's ability to use tactics efficiently and effectively. It's what you do as a coach. That is very important, right? As a coach, you have to create an environment where trainees can think for themselves, right? You have to create an environment of confidence. You have to create an environment of interaction. You have to get their attention. You have to keep them disciplined. You have to test their intelligence. देखो जैसे स्मार्टफोन है, स्मार्ट टीवी है, आपको भी बनना है स्मार्ट कोच, स्मार्ट थिंकिंग, बी अ स्मार्ट टीचर, use smart communication, ask smart questions, and use smart technique. remember that coach banke, you are the first mental trainer. You are their first fitness trainer. You are their first nutritionist. आपसे सब सीखता है पहले, right? And I'm so happy that we've had Yuki and we've had Rohan, and yesterday we had Ankita and we had Dr. Janki, and today we had Prajnesh. And you'll see that it takes time to develop, but most importantly, you have to train them mentally, and that's what you need to do when you start with tactics. You have to challenge them mentally. Keep your lessons interesting. Keep your lessons fun. Engage them in different activities. Yes, I know I'm getting a lot of questions as to how to create interaction, how to create intelligence. Hold your horses. All right, we'll move on slowly. So remember, as a coach, you have to take many roles. You are their first mental trainer. You are their first fitness trainer. You are their first nutritionist. And you have to create this environment, all right, to capture their intelligence, to capture their confidence, to help them to grow, right? Test their intelligence, right? Keep them on their toes with a lot of other activity other than just hitting a tennis ball. Because if you can do that, then when they actually move on to applying the tactics on the court, they will be more efficient and more effective. Okay, so checklist continued. Okay, so here's an exercise I use to test their confidence, right? And their awareness. See, pata hai, hum log sab insaan hai, right? We're all human beings. But you have to know your trainees' character. You have to know their personality. What type of trainees are they? Are they happy? Are they shy? Right? Do they have courage? Are they introverts, extroverts? And here's what I do, a lovely exercise. You want to equate yourself or your trainee as an animal. Right? And you want to ask them, what kind of an animal do you think you are? Right? And then you have to relate that animal to the actual person they are. All right? So why don't you try this? Okay? Try it. Take a few seconds and think of what kind of an animal you are. Okay? And you'll get various answers from your trainees. A few days ago, I ran this session, and then one of my trainees said that she was a horse, right? And then you have to ask them why. Why do you think you're a horse? And she gave all the explanations as to why she was a horse, and I think she was absolutely, perfectly right. So take a few seconds, think about what type of an animal you are. Right? And send it on the chat, quick. You have to participate, coaches. Aapko participate karna hoga ye session mein, right? Suresh, am I clear, buddy? Hey, Suresh. Okay, good. I'm getting a lot of answers. That's nice. Great. Excellent stuff. That's the way I want to see all you guys interact. Okay, here's another thing I ask my trainees. Right? What is your favorite shot? Right? It's very important to know what is your favorite shot. It's very important to ask the trainee to know what is his or her favorite shot. Okay, here's an experience that I had many years ago when I was working with a little kid, and after many months, or actually many years of working with him, I actually wanted to ask him, and I did, what was his favorite shot. And he told me, sir, my favorite shot is the volley. And I was devastated. मेरा दिल पूरा सूख गया. मैं बहुत उदास हो गया. I became very sad because, you know, I never spent any time on that little kid's volley. And that's actually what he wanted to do. So from the next day, I just started working on the guy's volley. I just let him have fun with his volley. Just let him do whatever he wanted to. Obviously, I guided him as to which shot he should use to come to the net. And he bloomed and he blossomed. And he went on, he transformed as a player. And he went on to win the under-16 nationals. And there was no stopping him after that. And then he just became such a good player. And he reached the, I think about 80 in the ITF junior rankings. And that's what I did for him. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. Okay? And at the end of 3, all of you are going to shout into your phone as to what your favorite shot is. I know I see a lot of messages coming, forehand down, backhand down. So ready, on the count of 3. Suresh, you ready, buddy?
Yes, Gary.
Great. Okay, so on the count of 3. All right, everybody going to shout what their favorite shot is. 1, 2, 3. Single-handed, topspin, backhand, cross-court. Okay, so, and here's a question. If you look at the right side, you'll find that I love asking this question. All right, this is the smartest question of all it. And trust me, in 28 years that I've coaching, I've never got the correct answer. Okay, so here's a question for you. What is tennis? What is tennis? You'll get a variety of answers. Okay, like for example, you'll get tennis is love. Oh, lovely. You'll get answers like tennis is a game. Tennis is a sport. Tennis is life. Tennis is fun. Tennis is a way of living. Tennis is a power game. Tennis is a battle. Tennis is discipline. Tennis is second home. All right, so you'll get a lot of these answers. All right, tennis is passion. Tennis is beautiful. Tennis is a royal game. Tennis is a game of speed. All right, so as I said, right, I've never got the right answer. And here on your screen is what the answer should be. Very simple, right? Tennis is a game played by 2 or 4 people where you use a racket and a ball, and you take the racket and hit the ball over a net between some lines to the player or players standing on the other side of the net. If the ball goes into the net, and if the ball goes outside the lines, play stops, and your opponent on the other side of the net wins the point. As simple as that. As simple as that. That is tennis. There is nothing else to tennis. Nothing else to tennis. It's so simple, right? You just got to hit a ball over the net within some lines to your opponent. So if you're a smart teacher and you think smart, you'll come down to the next portion, and from this answer, you get 4 things. You get 4 things. You get 4 opponents. Right? You don't have only one opponent on the other side of the net. You have 4 opponents. And this is what you need to make your trainees understand from a very early age. First opponent is the net. Second opponent are the lines. Third opponent is your opponent himself. That means Vijay, if you are Gabbar Singh. And the fourth opponent is you. Right? You are also an opponent. Remember? We spoke so much about mental training yesterday, and there are a lot of things you need to work out on your head. Am I going to play this ball cross court? No, I should play down the line. Oh my God, there's my opponent. Now what should I do with the ball? Oh, so you have to constantly make decisions. You have to constantly fight with your mind, clear out things in your head as to where you're going to play that ball when it comes from your opponent. So guys, here's something new, I think. 4 opponents you have. The net, the lines, your opponent, and you yourself. This is something that you have to instill with your trainees from a very early age. Okay. Now, you have to also, see, you have to be an interesting teacher. You have to be a fun teacher, okay? You have to keep your trainees on their toes with a lot of things. So first is, you need to ask them questions like, what kind of an animal are you? Which is your best shot? Who is your favorite player? And here's another thing I do a lot on the court. I use keywords to boost attention, right? I'm getting a few questions as to what is ho? Okay, ho! So what I do is I shout ho! And when I shout ho, whatever the trainees are doing on the court, they have to stand like statues. Whatever they're doing. If they're picking up balls, if they're getting ready, it's their turn and they're getting ready to hit the ball. Whatever they're doing, they have to stand like a statue. So suddenly in the middle of the session, I go, ho! And everybody stands. Right? Statue. Okay, so we're going to play a little game now. Right? So when I shout ho, okay, you are going to clap 3 times. Okay, actually you are going to clap 3 times. Suresh, you're there, buddy?
Yes, buddy.
Okay, I want to hear you clap, my friend, after ho. You done?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, everybody ready? Ho! Fantastic. Again, 3 times you have to clap. 3 times. All coaches ready. Guys, you must participate, because if you participate, then you know how much fun it is and what it will take for your trainee to participate. Ho! Fabulous. Okay, so let's go to the next one and see what we have in the next one. You need to be a smart teacher. To test intelligence of your trainees. Right? So, see, you need to be an English teacher. You can be a geography teacher. You can be a math teacher. You can be a science teacher. So when they come on the court, they never know what to expect from you. So they are always sharp, ready for you. Okay, so I throw a lot of puzzles, a lot of quizzes, a lot of questions, okay, where I get my trainees to interact and answer some questions. So here's a question, here's a quiz. It's a 7-letter word. What is greater than God? Worse than the devil? And if Bhagwan say, rich man needs it, poor man has it. If you eat it or drink it, you will die. It's a 7-letter word. Put your thinking caps on, guys. All right? Thinking caps. Whoa, I've got a few answers already. Lovely. Okay, second question. So you can be a good geography teacher. What am I? I have cities but no buildings. I have oceans but no water. Desert but no sand. Forest but no trees. What am I? Think, right? Put your thinking cap. Oh, I got a bunch of answers. Lovely. And here you can be a maths teacher. How many 9s are there from 1 to 100? Start counting, guys. Number 9s. From 1 to 100. I got 1 answer already. I got 2. I got 3. I got 4. I got 5. Okay. That's what I want. That's what I want you to do. Variety of answers. I'll give you all the answers at the end of the session. Okay, guys. Now let's go back. Some of you know who I am, right? Some of you have met me. Some of you have not met me. But all of you today, you have seen me, right? I was there at the last session. I'm here again today. What kind of an animal do you think I am? Well, I know I'm asking for trouble, but let me see, okay? Let me see how good you are. All right? What kind of an animal do you think I am? Dekho bhai, joker mat likho, huh? Okay, I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. I'm not a Bengal tiger. I'm not a tiger. I'm not a tiger. That was to put you off track. All right, so let me see if you can come up with what kind of an animal I am. All right, so see, you know, what I'm trying to explain to you is that before you start teaching tactics, or while you teach tactics, I think that's more appropriate. While you teach tactics, you have to create an atmosphere of fun. You have to create an atmosphere of creativity. You have to be a fun teacher. You have to be an intelligent teacher. Okay, you have to be a teacher that instills confidence in your trainees. You have to be a teacher that mentally toughens your trainee. You have to be a teacher that makes your trainee strong and sharp and ready, right? What to do with the next ball. So if you sharpen these skills, right? So then actual application of a tactic gets very simple, right? Okay, so yeah. Well, good. I'm getting a lot of answers. Some are right, some are wrong. Okay, so very interesting animals. I'm getting what kind of an animal I am. Some of you have got it right. Superb. Good observation. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide and see what we have in store. Remember Yuki Bhamri? Remember Rohan? Remember Prajnesh? Right? You have to be a smart teacher and teach them a variety of shots. Right? You want to move your opponent? You have to have the ammunition to move your opponent. You have to teach them serve, not only just to serve. You have to teach them the top spin serve. You have to teach them the slice serve, the wide serve. You have to teach them the volley, the smash, how to slice the ball, how to lob, how to hit drop shots, how to hit angles. So these are shots that are, different, special shots as we call them. So these are the kind of shots that you have to teach, the special shots. And you have to teach these shots at a very early age. Otherwise, the development will be very hampered. Right? You want your opponent to keep balls on the court, but then he doesn't have a slice. So on the difficult shot, poor fellow, he can't get that ball back. You want your opponent, after your trainee hits a great shot, you want him to come to the net and finish the point. But poor fellow, he doesn't have any confidence on the volley. Right? You want to make your opponent move. Opponent is standing way behind the baseline. You know you have to hit a drop shot, but you haven't taught your guy how to hit a drop shot, poor fellow. It's like, what I did with my kid, right? I never spent much time with his volley. And actually when I did, the results were marvelous. All right, so these are the things that you need to do, right? Before you step onto tactics. Yeah. So what will you do? I mean, how would you implement tactics if you don't create an environment for it? All right. I hope all of you are understanding where I'm going. All right. And it's very clear that, all the celebrities we had and Dr. Janki's session yesterday was absolutely fantastic. Okay. The child has to be sharp, right? The child has to be intelligent. The child has to do the right things. You have to keep the child disciplined. You have to keep the child motivated, right? You have to keep the child mentally strong and mentally challenging, right? All your sessions. Okay, so now, I think what we are all waiting for, what are the tactics? Come on, sir, tactics batao. Itna gyan mat dena. Acha, gyan sun liya na? Abhi tactics dekh. Okay, the first important thing in tactics is that when you actually apply tactics, that is the 5-game situation. You can be in 5 situations when you play this game of tennis. So when you take your racket and hit the ball over the net, between the lines to your opponent. You can do that when you serve. You do that when you return serve. So when your opponent is serving, when you and your opponent are at the baseline, so a baseline to baseline situation. When you decide to approach the net or you're at the net and your opponent is at the baseline, and when your opponent is approaching the net or at the net and you are at the baseline. Yes, I always get a sixth one sneaking in. Sir, dono volley pe, volley to volley. Yeah, that's a situation. More so in doubles, right? In singles, it can be, but very, very rare. Okay, so the 5-game situation. So whatever you do has to be based on the 5-game situations. When you serve, when you return, when both players are at the baseline, when you are at the net and your opponent is at the baseline, and when your opponent is at the net and you are at the baseline, what type of shots will you hit, right? How do you counter all these different shots in all these different situations, right? So let's go to the next one. There are 3 phases in one point. One, when you start the point, or you stay in the point, or you try to stay in the point, putting the ball in play, using the serve, or keeping the ball in play when you're under pressure, or keeping the ball in play when you return, right? So you have to start, or you have to stay in the point. What is the tactical application? We see at the bottom of that, consistency and recovery for the next shot. Very important. So when you start a point, you have to be consistent, right? You have to get the serve over the net inside the box. Otherwise, the point doesn't start, right? And when you return, so when the serve is right and you have to return that ball over the net inside the lines. Otherwise, the point can't start. So consistency is very important. It's the first most important tactic in this game of tennis. And recovery. And recovery, right? So recovery is also very, very important. If you don't recover, how will you hit the next shot? All right? And then you go to the second phase in the same point, is building the point, right? What do you do when you build the point? You have to use some tactics, right? So you have to move your opponent, right? You have to use direction. Either you hit cross court or down the line. So it's very clear there. And of course, very, very important tactic is you have to use your best shot. And another very important tactic is you have to play on your opponent's weakness. Like Gabbar Singh making poor slow Vijay move. Right? And you have to attack your opponent's weakness with your best shot. Remember that consistency also plays a very important role here. And of course, you have to recover. Very important. And the third phase in the point is trying to finish the point. What do you do here? You attack or try to hit winners, right? But you have to get an opportunity to attack. You have to get an opportunity to hit winners. So that is why it's very important to start the point well and to stay in the point and to hit good shots while you build the point. And if you see the tactical application on how you can finish the point, you will find that the tactical applications are more or less the same. Moving your opponent, using your best shot, exploiting your opponent's weakness, and recovery. Recovery is the second most important tactic in this game of tennis. So consistency, number 1. Recovery, number 2. And you see the other points which are very common. Attack your opponent's weakness. use your best shot, move your opponent, use the court. So these are some of the tactics that you can see very clear in the 3 phases of a point. All right. Wow, I have a lot of time. I didn't think I would go so fast. Guys, I hope you are with me, understanding everything. Right? I hope I'm not going too fast, but I think I'm taking some time to explain. So, you know, I can read your chat. So, you know, you can just keep sending me saying, yep, it's going well. I understand. समझ में आ रहा है. मेरा टूटा भूटा छोटा मोटा हिंदी में चलता है. मगर एक बात, हम जब हिंदी बोलते हैं ना, मैसेज तो मिल जाएगा पक्का से. बराबर? Okay, so I'm going to keep this slide for a little longer on your screen because this is a very important, very important aspect. All right, the 3 phases in a point. When you start a point and you have to stay in that point, and then you have to build on that point. Then obviously the ultimate goal is to try to win the point, right? That's the ultimate goal. So and remember that if you don't create a situation in your sessions, in your lessons, and prepare your trainees to reach this point, then it's going to be a little more difficult. So go back, right, to the beginning. You have to know your trainee well. So a lot of good, smart communication is required, right? You have to know what type of animal that is. That's a fantastic exercise. You must try that exercise, right? What type of an animal your trainee is. What's your trainee's best shot? Who's your trainee's favorite player, right? Create some lovely activity. Okay, I'll share with you another activity that I do on the court. You know, I have a whistle, right? And when I blow that whistle, it means that the trainees have to run. Whatever they're doing, if they're picking up balls, they have to run, right? If they are waiting in line to hit a ball, they have to run. And they have to keep running till I blow the whistle the second time, right? So, you know what I do is, sometimes I keep the whistle around my neck, all right? So they know, aaj bhagna hai. Siti bajaya, to band baj gaya. Okay, so, and sometimes, you know, jab mera गला से वो सीटी जब झूलता है ना, कभी-कभी पूरा सेशन में हम बजाता नहीं, right? So they never expect, you know, they never know what I'm going to do next. And sometimes I keep the whistle in my pocket so that they can't see it. Suddenly I take it out and I blow it, right? So this is another way to keep trainees active, right? Keep them on their toes. Never know what they are going to be told to do next, all right? So you need to prepare them to reach this stage. In the 5-game situation, right? Be consistent, recover, use your best shot, exploit your opponent's weakness. What else? Use the court, right? Move your opponent. So these are some very important tactics and basic tactics, okay? You know the beauty about these tactics? You know the beauty about these tactics? All right, here, watch. Is that it teaches you to be a smart teacher using smart technique, right? So how do you check? How do you measure consistency, right? So the smart technique is, you ask the trainee to count the number of balls they're hitting to and fro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a very good mental, it keeps them focused, helps in a little bit of mental. All right, so maybe you can keep a target of say 10 balls. So they're counting now, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, and yeah, 2 more balls to get to 10, 2 more balls, and yay, reach 10. All right, and then you can increase the number to 20. All right, and sometimes just ask them, how many balls do you think you're going to keep on the court now? All right, and they will give you numbers. Direction, very important thing to use when you are using tactics. You have to use targets, right? Very important to use targets. Keep targets all over the court, right? Obviously where you want, not just anywhere you want, but where you want your player to hit the ball, right? So if you want them to hit cross court, forehands, keep a lot of targets there in the cross court forehand area. And if you want them to work on depth, right, then you can ask them to hit in a shaded area, or you can just draw a line with some targets and ask them to hit between the baseline and the targets. And then height over the net. This is a superb exercise. I do it even with my top players in my tennis center, right? Those who are playing nationals, national champions, those who are playing international tournaments, those who are under 10 years, who have just started playing tournaments, use a rope. So you have your net, which is, what's the height of the net, guys? At the center. Anyone can let me know what the height of the net is at the center? Ah, yes, that's right. 3 feet. 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3. That's what I'm saying on my chat. Superb, guys. Nice to see you get involved. And what's the height of the net at the two ends? Dono end mein. 3.6, 3.6, 3.5. Hey, 3.5 kon likha bhai? 3.6. 3.5 nahi bhai, 3.6. Okay, so that's the height of the net. Now you want them to hit higher. All right, so you tie a rope, maybe 2 or 3 feet higher than the net, and ask them to clear the rope. It's a splendid exercise, right, to use for clearance over the net. Okay, so these are some smart techniques that I use, all right, smart techniques with the tactics. And let's see how it looks on a tennis court. Okay, so here direction. So you use targets. You can see 4 targets at the back, right? Just symbolic, guys. I just want to show you, how to use the targets on the court, right? Sometimes the targets can be placed in a position where it's easier. So more inside the lines. Okay, the target area can be made larger to make it easier. And then you can create a challenge for your trainees and make the target area smaller once they are more successful. Okay, but use targets. Here's another one. Okay, for depth, you can see the shaded area very clearly. Right, so this for depth, you can hit balls in the shaded area. And for variation on the change in depth, you can draw another area near the net, right, for the drop shot and maybe the short balls, keeping your opponent moving. And then we go on to, okay, you see that white line over the net? That's the rope. And so you have to hit over the rope. All right? You know the beauty about these tactics? All right? Now, obviously, all these, right, these are full courts, normal courts, right? A normal tennis court. And the beauty about these tactics is that you can use it on any court. Right? You can use it in any situation, on any court, any type of court. The green court, the orange court, and the red court. As you can see, I've used the tactic and I've given you also the smart technique. So depth, hit in shaded area. You can see the shaded areas on all the types of courts. Okay, height over the net. Right, you can see the rope on all the types of courts. So it doesn't matter whether you are working with a trainee on a green court or you're working with a trainee on a red court or an orange court. The tactical application is the same for the kid who's on the red court and for Roger Federer when he is playing the Wimbledon final against Novak Djokovic. The tactics cannot change. It's how you introduce the tactic. Now, that's why you have to be a smart coach. I hope this is clear. Right? And here we have the consistency. all right, on the different courts. The arrows symbolize the number of balls you hit. Obviously, guys, I can't draw 20 arrows. So I just use 2 arrows just to show you back and forth. And of course, the direction where you use targets. All right, so that is, you can use on all the courts. Clear, guys? And then, when you have actually done all this, only then, maybe you can aspire your trainees to reach this. That's Serena Williams beating Angelique Kerber 7-5, 6-3 at Wimbledon center court. But actually, that's not what I wanted you to see. I wanted you to see the extreme right. That's me there, guys, standing alongside the scoreboard on center court at Wimbledon. I had a great opportunity to visit Wimbledon with the Indian team. All right, so guys, that brings me to the end of my session. But before I hand over to Suresh. Suresh, you're there, buddy?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, great. Not gone to sleep.
Your presentation was keeping me alive here.
Okay, so the answer to the first question, I know I got a lot of answers. कौन सा picture था? Sholay. The answer to the second question of what kind of an animal am I? पता है एक बंदा टाइप किया हाथी. ठीक है भाई, आपको हाथी दिखता है. चल मेरा भाई, कोई बात नहीं, चल. But you know, hathis are not so bad, huh? Hathis have fantastic memories. All right, and I have a great memory, but I'm not an elephant. I'm not a tiger. I'm a monkey. I'm a monkey, and I saw a lot of people, a lot of coaches typing in monkey. Okay, the answer to the next question, what is greater than God, worse than the devil? Rich man needs it. Poor man has it. If you eat and drink it, you will die. Nothing, guys, nothing. It's a 7-letter word, nothing. Nothing is greater than God. Nothing is worse than the devil. Rich man needs nothing. Poor man has nothing. If you eat nothing and drink nothing, you will die. Next question. Cities but no, I got the answer to this as well. Cities but no buildings. Forests but no trees. Deserts but no sand. Rivers and oceans but no water. It's a map. And some said globe. So yeah, globe map. And here's the one. Maths teacher. How many 9s from there? From 1 to 100. Guys, there are 20 9s. And those of you who got less than 20, I tell you what you forgot. You forgot all the 9s from 90 to 100. Right? That's what you forgot. 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 2 in 99. So that makes it 20, guys. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the session. I try to make it as interesting as possible because it's very difficult to run, a tactical session off the court. So cheers. God bless you all. And back to Suresh at the studio.
Thanks a lot for that phenomenal presentation, Gary. It was, like I would say, it was focused on the under 10s, 12s, and 14s. And the way your communication was also very similar to your communication when you're working with kids, which is very, very good. Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to get and hats off to the presentation that you've done. It was so colorful and it was eye-catching.
Yeah, I tried. I worked hard at it. Actually, no, I'm going to share something. I'm going to share something with you guys now. I was going to actually change the type of presentation because I wasn't sure, whether it would go down or whether coaches would understand. But I think Yuki, Nandan, Yuki, Ankita, Rohan, And yesterday, Dr. Janki, you guys inspired me to continue with the content. All right, because I think it's very important to actually it's tremendous challenge of applying tactics on court. So that's what I did. Thanks.
Fantastic. And what we'll do now is we can take questions from the candidates, and all the attendees, you can all your questions that you want. It could be relevant to this session, or some questions that you've been wanting to ask and we couldn't answer. It could be that also. You can just type away your questions and we'll start answering them one by one. So at what level we teach all shots? Manoj?
At what level would you teach all shots? Okay, guys, I would teach these shots right from the beginning.
Totally.
Right beginning. I mean, why not? I mean, it's up to you, all right, and to be a smart teacher, right, and get to know how you can teach the different type of shots. Now, obviously, that requires a different session, but yep, I would say right from the beginning, right from the beginning, the drop shot right from the beginning, the volley right from the beginning, right? You guys, we have we have red balls, we have red courts. All right, you can mud court, you can make it smaller. All right, you don't need to use a net, right? So, yep, right from the beginning.
Once you modified the court, and even in a red court, the kid is playing with the slower ball, and he will be able to develop the skills that are required to move, to read the ball, and get into position, stuff like that. You can start introducing all the strokes right from that stage. Absolutely right. I totally agree with you, Gary. Somebody says it's tough to teach adults to play variety of shots. That game is already set. Again, Manoj.
Tough to teach adults?
Variety of shots. The game is already set.
Tough to teach adults a variety of shots. I think it goes back to the concept, right? Of teaching them different variety shots, right? So I think if you need to make a change, right, you need to speak to the with children, and the communication you have with adults is very different. And to be in a different way, right? And you have to make the adult understand that if you add some, some variety in your shots, maybe your game will get a little better. Okay, but trust me, you don't want to change the grip, right? Because I know a lot of adults, play with a very, like for example, if they're hitting a forehand, they would probably be playing with a little bit of a continental grip, right? And they've been playing for so many years, so I don't know. That's something maybe you may not want to change, but if you ask me, I would change it. Right? I would change the continental grip, right? Even if it's an adult, all right? It won't take very long. It'll just take a few days, right, to make the adjustment, because the adult would actually adjust faster, right, than the kid.
Yeah. That thing, the only issue will be that they will play the right stroke with you, and then when they go back and play their doubles, they go right back to what they were doing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I totally agree with you.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so another question here. Fitness before or after tennis session? SK Munawar Hussain.
I would think, okay, now this is a tricky question, all right?
Right.
It depends at what level you're looking at, okay? If you're looking at little kids, then maybe fitness after the session, right? Or maybe fitness during the session. Why not? Okay, so it's entirely your choice, and what kind of a program you want to do. Okay, yeah. But if once you're dealing with older kids and you start specializing, then the fitness has to be a totally different session, right? On its own, right? And it because that type of a session also requires a lot of specialization.
Yeah.
And kids, you have to be fresh, all right, to attend that session as well. Okay, so give importance to the and to the fitness session. In fact, I would do it the other way around. Give more importance to the fitness session, because the tennis session will either way take care of itself.
Totally, Gary. I agree with the fact that You need to integrate the fitness session also into the session, especially when you're working with red, orange, green coat kids. As you go higher up, I would say that you need to look at, yeah, I totally agree with you also on that. You need to have specialized sessions as they go higher up. I would also like to add that it also depends on what fitness are they doing? Are they, you know, what aspect of the fitness are they doing? If they're going to do something like speed and power, they have to do it before the session when they're fresh. If you're doing endurance or, you know, the other aspects, you can do it after the session. So I'm sure a good fitness trainer will be able to, you know, guide you on these things. Or even our level 1 course has all this information right there. In those 3 days, we focus only on the fitness aspect. Okay. How can we teach reaction time for first ball after the serve? Any tactics on it? He's asking for the tactics to teach. Gary, you went off.
Okay, I think
you went off the screen.
Yeah. Sorry. What was the question? Okay.
How can we teach?
Okay, the first ball, right? The first ball after the serve. Is that right?
Yeah, the reaction time for first ball after the serve.
Okay, great question. All right, these are kind of questions that we like to hear. Okay, you know, a lot of the times when we are serving and we lose the point, we blame the serve. Oh, my serve was bad. I need to work on my serve. But I think a very important aspect is that first ball after your serve. So sometimes you hit a great serve, but it comes back and you're not ready. So reaction time. Okay. A lot of drills. There's a lot of drills that you can do, but I would like to make a very important point here is that if you find a kid a little slow on the first ball, that means after the return, here's a great way that you can motivate him. All right. So, hey, John, you have a great serve. Right now, I want to visualize you getting ready for the next ball, like your favorite player. Okay, so say Roger Federer. Right, everyone's favorite player is normally Roger Federer. So I want you to recover after your serve like Roger Federer. Right, try that rather than feed balls and I think visualization, as Dr. Janki had mentioned, is very, very important. Maybe try the visualization method. Okay, get ready for your next ball after you serve, like your favorite player, Roger Federer. Try that. Okay, that's a great way.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Gary. That's the right thing to do. Because when you're working with the children, the most important thing is you need to communicate what they need to do. And the best way to communicate is by showing visuals rather than trying to explain it. You could either demonstrate, or the best way to do is that use their role model. And if you can take a video of and reacting for the next ball, and we can just focus only on that reaction part, then the kid kind of understands what is expected of him. And then you can go into drills like you can stand on the same side of the net, facing them, away from the serve, of course. You allow them to serve, and as soon as they complete the serve, you feed the ball so that they're forced to react and hit the next ball. So you're trying to put them in a challenge where they have to respond to it. But the first thing is what Gary said. You need to give them a clear picture of what you expect him to do. So a visual is the best thing to do. Preetham, I heard that Gary sir is working a lot on tennis development in northeastern parts. How is the lack of infrastructure affecting these parts and also India? And what changes the association is proposing to change? Preetham, we are in the coaches education department, and we would like to answer questions based on the immediate presentation or on something that will help the coaches directly. I mean, in the coaching part. We are not specialists in anything else. So try to keep the questions to the coach's education. Should we let small kids, Gary, Arun Bosley is asking you, should we let small kids play with their comfortable grips initially and then correct it with days to come?
Totally agree. Of course, guys, you know, surgery क्या होता है पता है ना? Surgery. मैंने you go to a doctor इलाज करने के लिए, डॉक्टर बोले हमको तुमको सर्जरी करना है. Okay, that is the last resort. Changing grips, fiddling around with grips, that is like, that is like operating or, conducting a surgery on children. All right, so yeah, all right, the rackets today, the equipment today is made so well, all right, that I think it's virtually impossible. Trust me, I work with hundreds of kids. It's virtually impossible for a kid, all right, to play with the wrong grip. Okay, because the grips are designed in such a way. All right. So yeah, if you find that the grip is a little bit of a problem, let it be, unless of course it's a very extreme grip. Okay, like totally Western on both sides, right? Then maybe you can make a change. But otherwise, don't worry too much about grips. Okay. I'll give you a very good way on how to get the kit to work on the right grip. All right, just put the racket on the ground. Right, keep the racket on the ground and ask the kid to go pick up the racket. Right, and the kid will go and pick up the racket, and there you have. That's the grip. It doesn't matter whether he plays a forehand or a backhand, because either way, today I would say about 8, maybe 9 out of 10 of players are still playing double-handed when they first join you. So that's the grip.
Okay, Gary, Sing Tennis. How about putting tactics with under 8 kids who plays with red ball by giving them targets to hit in different areas and then tell them to enjoy
Okay, I got it.
While they do it.
Suresh, may I go?
Yeah, sure. You're off the air. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question here. Name specific tactics that you can use with different levels of players on the green, orange, and red. Guys, I think my slides and my explanation was quite clear and very simple. You can use any tactic on any court. It doesn't matter. Okay? The court is modified. The court is smaller. The balls are slower. So you can use a consistency tactic that you use on a green court. You can use the same drill, in fact, on the red court. Exactly the same. Right? No change at all. So if you want to copy a Roger Federer drill where he plays a point against Novak Djokovic, you can do the same drill on your red court. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the question maybe you can address. How do you handle parents? They expect result more than tournament, more than entertainment.
Parents. Okay, let's start on a note where I think most coaches think that parents are a problem. Okay, but you need to remember something very, very important. Okay, and that's one of the things that impressed me about all the presentations that have come so far. And Dr. Janki answering some questions yesterday. Coaches, you must remember that parents play an integral part in this entire process of tennis development. You cannot leave the parents out of the picture. Okay, so my advice to you is befriend the parent, right? Speak to parents, make them understand, run seminars for parents, all right? Telling them or teaching them what their role is, all right? And if, of course, see guys, see how much time you spend with the trainee. Whose kid is this? It belongs to the parent. These kids are not ours, right? The parents send them to you. The parents are paying you. The parents are responsible for their upbringing, their safety, their character, right? The parents are responsible for their nutrition. So how much time do you and me have? So how do we expect to leave parents out of the picture, right? You have to get the parents to help you, right? So yeah, a lot of parents are very technically involved, right? Run some technical issues for parents. There's no way out, guys. Trust me. Okay? You can say whatever you like. Okay? You can do whatever you like. The parents will the picture. So let's treat it. Let's be positive. Okay? Let's educate the parents. Run seminars for them. All right? I think 9 and 4 know how to play the game. Right? So you have to teach them how to be coach. Right, technically as well, because they're going to teach them technical things as well. So why not teach them? the right technique. Run seminar, right? Have a blast. Get parents involved. That's my advice to you guys. Don't fight the parent. You won't win the battle.
Well said, Gary. There is another question which is not relevant to our subject right now for this presentation, but I think we should take it. It's a myth that we need to break, Gary. Dr. P. Senthil Kumar is asking why we didn't succeed against foreign players.
I'm sorry, why we don't succeed against foreign players? Why we don't succeed against
Shall I go?
Foreign players?
Shall I answer?
Yes, please.
If you have to really go into the record of players to see who they are playing against when they are traveling abroad. They are traveling all the time. The number of tournaments that's happening in India is very, very few. In 2015, we just had one challenger and one ATP tour. Even there was no futures at all. We had a few women's tournaments, yes. And even in these tournaments, you had a lot of foreign players coming. And you also saw the Indian players succeeding in these tournaments. So that statement is definitely not true. And also our players are traveling around the globe week after week, beating so many different players. So just take the cream at the top, and then we believe that foreigners are more, successful in this field, which is not true. And the reason why I wanted to address it is because even for our junior players, I've heard this. When I'm traveling around with my players, the other players, when they're asking these questions, I could understand one thing that is underlying. It's a general belief that the foreign players, especially the white race, is superior in the tennis field. So when our players go abroad and they face someone who's Caucasian, they feel that that person has to be superior. That's because of the image that you have of all the people that you've seen on screen, on TV, and then you attribute the same thing to everybody there. This is not true. You have good players, bad players everywhere. Right now, yes, we started off a little late and we're doing this catching up game, and we'll catch up with them within a short period of but that doesn't mean they are better than us. You have to get onto the court understanding that it has nothing to do with race, it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just your skill and your belief on that particular day.
Super special done.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. Absolutely.
Thank you, Gary. So what's the perfect toss for service? Ball path and place in air. Vikas Rana.
What's the perfect toss? All right. If you saw my session, tennis during lockdown, all right, that's how a toss should be. Simple, easy, comfortable, in front. Don't complicate tosses. Don't try to copy anyone's toss. I know a lot of players, a lot of coaches, you want to copy the way Roger Federer tosses the ball. All right. How do you know? Is your player capable of being a serve? Okay, after tossing the ball like Federer, find out. Okay, that's the challenge. Okay, so let's take it step by step. Is when you teach the toss, keep it simple, right? Don't complicate where the toss should go, ideally and comfortable height over the head. Okay? As simple as that. Progress, it has considerable amount of success, and when he reaches a certain level, maybe you can alter the serve and make it one toss for all types of serves. But don't rush this. Take your time, right? As I said, you have to develop the player. You are the best judge as to what your player is capable of doing. But again, I'll remind you that keep it simple, in front, comfortable head. actively. Yes, there are some tips. Okay, so you know what happens is generally when the ball comes fast, what happens to kids that they lose racket control, right? So the path, angle, and speed, that's PAS, pass. Path, angle, and speed of the racket is actually they lose control, right, of that. Okay. So here's a great way, right? First, you want them to, obviously, you want them to adjust the backswing. You want them to adjust the length of the stroke. Okay. So the simplest way to do it is to keep a target, all right, not near the baseline, all right, but somewhere near the service line, right, where they will add some control. So most often it works for me perfectly. You don't even have to tell them, all right, to slow the racket speed down. They will do it automatically. If they find that they have to hit the ball shorter, right, they will do it automatically. And once they develop that control, then maybe you can push the targets back, and you'll find that considerable amount of control is developed.
Fantastic, Gary. I would do the same to create an atmosphere where you're not telling them you need to focus more on control, rather than you force them to think only about controlling the ball there, and then you can progress it back. Yeah, to add technically, to answer this question, there are two things. One that Gary said, to adjust the backswing, keep it shorter, and so that you can prepare early. And the second one will be the common problem will be the player falling back. When they see a ball coming fast, they kind of fall back, and the momentum is going backwards, and it's difficult to counter the pace of the ball. So the very important thing is to keep your momentum going forward and to play the ball. Yeah. Okay. How to improve three-stroke strategy? Can you explain a bit, please?
How to improve
three-stroke strategy? What does he mean by that?
What is three-stroke strategy?
I have no.
I'm not too clear with the question of what a three-stroke strategy is. Are you referring to the three phases in a point? So I'm not too clear. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. So
yeah, three-stroke strategy. Maybe is he talking about the serve and attacking the next ball? I don't know. Okay, we'll skip that. What options are available when playing for wide backhand position? Chetan.
Okay, what options are available when you play from a wide backhand position? Okay. One option. You remember the rope, right? Hit higher over the net. So you can use the rope smart technique. Okay, so you need a higher trajectory, because understand, you're out of the court, you need time to recover, right? And you don't want to, try to attack or hit a winner of that ball, all right? So you want to play defense shot, and so a rope would be a good smart technique to use, where you want to hit the ball over the rope and clear the net with considerable amount of clearance. That's one. Second is, you remember, learn a variety of shots. See, guys, this is where you're going to challenge your trainees, right? So if you don't teach a variety of shots, it's going to be very difficult to get these kind of shots back. So great question, right? Another option to get that wide backhand back is to use the slice, right? So the backhand slice is a good option, but you have to teach the slice.
Absolutely.
So I have two options, right? And if Suresh wants to add to that, great.
No, that's perfect answer, Gary. I have nothing to add to that. This is a good question from Sharif Rahman. How many days to need to change muscle memory? Instead of muscle, yeah. I would.
Okay, we're going into some advanced stuff now. Okay. Muscle memory. What is muscle memory? Very quickly, I'll explain to you what muscle memory is. Okay, you know how you walk. Okay, we all have different styles, right? Right. So the muscle is actually remembering for you. Okay, you walk different. I walk different. The way we talk, we have certain expressions. Okay, the muscle remembers for you. You blink your eyelids, the muscle remembers for you. You're not forcing yourself to walk in a particular way. Okay, so that's muscle memory. All right. So if you train your kids to do the right things, all right, over and over and over and over again, and use a 10,000 number principle, right? Which is a little bit outdated, but I think it still works. So what do I mean? A lot of repetition, right? And if you keep repeating and repeating and repeating, then what will happen? Eventually, the muscle will remember for you, okay, as to what to do on a particular shot. Okay, how much time you need to change that? Honestly, I really don't know. Okay, it depends on how you teach, and it depends on the capability of your trainee. But I think if you are teaching right technique and you're doing the right things, then why do you need to change the muscle memory? It will work on its own. So that's what you have to aspire for. Good muscle memory equals to good technique, equals to good tactics.
Yeah. So if the kid has started off with you, and if you're able to guide them in the right way from the start, Gary said, we don't need to go into making these difficult changes later on. But the general rule for something to become automatic from being, instead of conscious intervention, if you want to change something consciously, it is possible. But then when you're playing a point or something, it has to be automatic. For things to become automatic, you need to put in 3 weeks of continuous effort up to 3 months. Only if there is a constant effort. If you allow the old memory to come back, then it takes longer, or you could never achieve the state of being automatic. So 3 weeks constant effort could change it, and you could become automatic in 3 months. If the challenge and the progress has been taken appropriately. A question from Mahendra Varman to you, Gary.
Yeah.
Hello, it's for both of us. Hello, sirs. Let's say the kid is 5 and just starting out. Would you teach them the right grips right off, or stick to one grip to start with him, and as they grow, it can be switched?
I think we already answered that question, right? If he's coming to you as you're the first coach, my question to you is, why would the grip be wrong? You should be teaching him the right grip. And if he's come to you after he has a wrong grip, then I think I already answered the question. How wrong is the grip? Is it really bad that it needs such a drastic change? And if it needs a change, then ask him to throw the racket on the ground and ask him to pick it up.
Gary,
you'll find that he's playing.
Sorry to interrupt you, Gary. He's talking about a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah, 5-year-old kid. Okay. So, yeah, 5-year-old kid. So, 5-year-old kid would mean not much of tennis. Am I right? So, very simple. If you think that the grip is very bad, no problem. Go for a small change if it's very drastic. Otherwise, if it's not so drastic, just leave it. All right, and he'll adjust on his own. Now, here's a very nice way to improve that is to give him different heights when you feed the ball. Okay, so if you give him different heights to feed the ball, when you feed the ball, he will automatically adjust. The grip will change, I think, automatically. So if you feed him a bit lower, right, he'll automatically adjust his grip and come a little closer to a more conventional forehand grip. And if you feed him higher, then automatically, I think slowly what he will do, he will move towards the more towards the western side. So I hope that answers you.
Yeah. Yes, Gary. Good one. I'll just add a couple of things to that. A 5-year-old kid, I think, would be doing a lot of tapping, rolling, and rallying with himself, with a partner, or in a very short space. And when you talk about what's the right grip, you're not talking about Eastern and Western. We are talking about whatever grip is comfortable to play that particular skill. And if the kid is not holding that grip appropriately, he won't be able to do the skill. So they'll have to adjust their grip in such a way that they can complete. Say, for example, if they had to do tapping on their own, they can't hold a Eastern forehand grip and tap. So they will have to come to a continental grip, which is what you'll be showing. And without that grip, if they hold a Eastern forehand, the ball will be going forward and they won't be able to tap on their own. So what you need to pay attention to is, are they able to achieve the task you're giving them? And you don't need to pay too much attention to the correctness of the grip as it applies to the higher levels. Preetham is asking a question, Gary. Kids nowadays can Google anything and everything when it comes to tennis. How can a coach still teach the kids with information which is new to them?
Sorry, kids today can do
Google,
anything and everything.
When it comes to tennis, how can a coach
Okay.
still teach the kids with information which is new to them?
I'm not too sure whether kids can do anything and everything in the game of tennis. I don't agree with that statement. All right. There's many things that you can actually teach them more. For example,
what do you mean? So what he's asking is, the question is, I don't know if you're able to read the question. I'll try to explain the question. Preetham is saying that kids are going and Googling everything and getting a lot of information.
Googling.
From
Okay.
the internet.
Googling everything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then they're getting a lot of information.
Of course, they're Googling everything. Of course, everything is available on the net. All right. So where's the harm? All right. Ask them to come up with ideas. Okay, hey guys, what do you learn on the net today? Anything new? Okay. Oh yes, sir. We saw Roger Federer, run up to this ball and hit this amazing underspin, and the ball spun like Shane Warne bowling to Sachin Tendulkar. Whoa, that's great. So okay, let's try it. Come on, let's get on court and let's see what you did. Why not? Okay, so they become part of the process. All right, you encourage them you're encouraging their intelligence. Yes, of course, they are capable. So the ideas they have, all right, or they get from the net, they can only implement it on the court where you're involved. So where's the harm? All right, and if it's a good thing to apply on the court, go for it. It's just a sharing of ideas, I think.
Gary, that's a fantastic answer. Now, guess what? We ran out of time. So
all right. So I guess
already
goodbye.
2-3
okay, I think
just
before we say goodbye to each other, I want to just share a few seconds of silence for one Mr. Chuni Goswami, who expired yesterday, and he
the football player.
Chunida was an iconic football player, India captain. He played Ranji Trophy for Bengal. He's also a life vice president of the Bengal Tennis Association. So great man, all right, and very instrumental in setting up the facility that we have there at the Bengal Tennis Association. So just a few seconds of silence and pray that his soul rests in peace, and for his family and all his friends. So thanks, guys. I think it's time to say goodbye. I had a wonderful time. Right? Hindi में फिर मिलेंगे, Bangla में Tata आbar देखा होवे, and in English, goodbye all of you. God bless. Work hard. All right? Have fun on the court and continue to enjoy this absolute wonderful platform of the coaches webinar. Thanks so much, Suresh. It was absolutely awesome interacting with you.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, fantastic day. And I have one more compliment for you. Your Hindi is way better than mine. I don't know how much of a compliment that is for your Hindi.
It was great fun, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for being here patiently. And tomorrow we're going to have none other than our own Nandan Bal. He's going to present on strategy and tactics for the higher levels, 16 and above, and to the pro level. He's going to talk about the tactics and strategy, and I'm sure it's going to be a revelation. We will also have another celebrity tomorrow, and let the fun continue. See you all tomorrow, and have a wonderful day, and stay safe. Bye, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.